All right. We'll wait just one more minute to see if anybody else trickles in, and then we'll get started.
Good.
Nico, how are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the Netherlands.
Oh, cool. Mostly Europe here today.
Yeah.
Good. Hi, Vesna. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm in Serbia.
Oh, nice. I've always wanted to go there. Hopefully one day, maybe with a
Yeah,
kid.
that would be nice.
Yeah, I would like that. Hi, Grace. Hi, Tristan, Paul, Maria, Simon. Glad to have you all here. All right, it's 12. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. For some reason, when I full screen this presentation, it takes over my Zoom. So I'm just going to leave it in this mode. Um, and it looks like a lot of slides, but it's just me being lazy about animation. So don't worry. This is maybe an hour of our time, including Q&A at most. Today is mostly my way of reconnecting and assuring people that this is not dead, and then to tell you when where I'm at and where we're going, and then sort of like a vision for the future as well. And if at any time I start talking too fast or if something doesn't make sense, feel free to ask in the chat and I'll check the chat every once in a while
Sono in ferie,
for any
cioè
questions.
non in ferie, scusa, è carnevale,
Hi,
quindi,
Tiziano, how are you?
quindi ti chiamo Giovanni, quindi.
If I can.
Hi, how are you?
I'm
Fine.
Ciao,
good, good,
ciao
good.
Sofì. Scusami, ciao, ciao, ciao. Sì, ciao, ciao.
I'm going to meet some folks here. Okay, cool. So yeah, join the chat if you need to ask any if I'm going too fast. And I can slow down. And there's, as you can see, there's time for questions. There will be two opportunities. We'll stop after I give you the update, and then we'll do another question session for the future vision. Any questions before I get started?
No.
Okay, cool.
Oh,
I am very excited to see you all here. I'm going to do these at least quarterly. So there will be plenty more opportunities for you to participate in and have a conversation with me. So we'll first cover the frequently asked questions. These are the questions that we will be covering. If you have other questions, then you can save them for the question period after this FAQ. One, is Kinograph dead? No, my life was just a little bit crazy. Not that you need to know, but between when I started Kinograph and today, I've had one, two, three, four, five, six new jobs. I've moved six times and I built a house. So, not myself, but
mm.
it's been a lot. But the good news is that the move is complete. My workshop behind me is installed. My job is stable. And this is all good. That means that there will be more time for Kinograph. But it has also highlighted that we need a better solution than a dependency on a single person to keep the project moving. And we'll address that later in my future vision section. So great. When will it be ready? Ooh, Grace, you're gonna have to tell me what that is behind you when we're. I just noticed that. Okay, that's some eye candy right there. When will it be ready? Well, I plan on releasing my documentation for the do-it-yourself version in the fall, and then selling kits based off of that if you don't want to put it together yourself. Or if you don't want to source all the parts yourself, you could theoretically buy a kit from me in the winter. What is that time? Where am I getting these dates? So right now, I'm rebuilding the machine. Uh, we'll cover that in a little bit. Then I'm going
Yeah.
to deliver that to my pilot partners, and they will begin testing it. I'll be collecting that feedback, working with them, supporting them, and then begin implementing the improvements needed to change whatever those problems are. When I have that all together, I will publish the plans, and then I'll begin getting ready for launching the kits. So theoretically, if you want to start, if you don't need a kit and you just want to know what I'm doing, the best way to do that is to follow on Instagram because I'll be making regular updates there on the build. And then you'll have the full material links, final costs, and instructions on how to get started by September. How much will it cost? Another very good question. It depends. These are all guesses at the moment because my final parts aren't decided. But we'll start from the beginning. I'm over engineering the frame. And I can show you that in a little bit. So it's a little expensive, but you could make that out of wood. There's no reason really why you would have to go the route that I have, but there are some reasons I've gone that way if you want to know about it later. Motors, I also went sort of a more, well, there are less expensive routes, but I think this is a good middle ground. Electronics and lighting, that's mostly the cost of a custom PCB and the LEDs, assembling them, all the cables, stuff like that. And then if you don't want to do all that labor, I'm planning on a really standard markup of 30 to 40% on all those parts. And that's for me to buy them, package them, assemble anything that needs assembling, and then send it to you. So that would put the bare bones hardware kit, no labor on my end, around 1350 US dollars to 1500. If you want to buy that as a kit, it goes up, obviously. And then the last two lines are things that everybody for now would be buying on your own because of personal choice and because of some software legal limitations in the beginning, which we'll cover in a second. I will pause here briefly for cost questions because this is a big point for a lot of people. Does anybody have any questions about this?
I have a question, Matthew.
Yeah.
I'm relatively new to the forum, and I'm building stuff myself, but what is the specification of the scanner that you are building?
Yes, the specs is what will be released in, well, maybe I can answer your question more specifically now. What specs are you interested in?
I see a camera. I've used a flare camera myself, USB camera,
I
um, but I'm quite enthusiastic about the Raspberry Pi camera.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
principle is, are you using a system that is 10, 50 frames per second or?
Thank you. Yeah, what is my benchmark for these numbers, like performance wise? That makes a lot of sense. I am shooting for a ideally 24 frames a second at your resolution of choice up to 4K. So if you want to buy a 2K camera, fine. But you could also, that's why the camera price is a very wide range. But it will support 4K. And then I'm matching the PC price to that because that basically your PC speed needs to match the speed of data come and volume of data coming in. So if you're using a Raspberry Pi camera and you don't need a full PC, your price just went down, $2,000. I will not be supporting that version, but we would support you and your design by posting it to the forums or even in the wiki and say, hey, if you want a cheaper version, check out Hans's version. Here are his specs, and here's what he did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question regarding the specs is, what kind of films do you cover? Is it 8 millimeter normal, regular 8 millimeter? Is it 9.5, 16, 35? The whole
Good
scope?
question. Yeah, I will cover that in a brief moment.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Any other cost-specific questions? Cool.
Yeah.
What will it be able to do? Hans, it'll scan 16 and 35 without sound. We have been using a piece of software, an open source piece of software to extract this visual soundtrack, the analog soundtrack, and then basically sync it back up in post in DaVinci or Final Cut or whatever you use. Um, it isn't the best quality, but it is very workable. It's something that would meet the standards of accessibility. You know, like you just went from I can't show this film safely in public to I can show it around the world and people can understand the audio. But I wouldn't say that it's archival quality by any means. So we would need to solve sound hardware later. Other people have solved this in different ways already. An early version of Kinograph exists at a car history museum, and they scan it once for image, and then they run it through an old projector and capture the sound out of that piece of hardware, and then they sync the two.
Is it optical and magnetic or
Not
magnetic?
magnetic, only optical.
Okay.
Well, their solution, I don't know. I will only support the software that exists only supports optical, but it supports various formats of optical.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll just say there are solutions for that, that we could talk about on the forum.
I would love that. Thank you, Grace. So what else what other like basic features and functionality will you be able to expect? And this is all first version, right? So we'll continue from here. You'll be able to control the machine and the lighting with onboard controls, either physical knobs and switches or a touch screen or combination. You will rely on the manufacturer's software for the camera control for now. The reason for that is it already works. It comes, all of the major manufacturers have their own software for evaluating the camera, and it does all the things we need it to do. So for me to spend time rebuilding that functionality in our own software and supporting it while I'm trying to finish the machine is too much. So for now, until we get a committee together to start the open source software control, that's why I'm asking people to buy their own cameras, because if you purchase it, then you have the license to the software that comes with it. If you buy the camera from me, I can't resell it to you with the license. I don't think someone told me I can't do that. And I believe them. Maybe it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. I heard a yeah, so I'll take it. And then optional community add-ons, which is basically to say whatever anybody else comes up with, you can add to your machine. I've seen people create wet gates. You could create your own gates for other formats. Someone could add on a sound head or whatever. And then later, part of the roadmap would be a dedicated machine for 8mm. Now, there's no reason that this machine could not do 8mm. It just seems that the use case for scanning the full range from 35 to 8 is far less than people who want to do large format, meaning 16 or 35, and the people who want to do just 8 or maybe 16 and 8. So for now, I'm supporting the big formats, and then we would move to the 8mm machine. And I think the community has solved the 8mm machine so many different times that we'll be able to do that relatively fast. I'm almost done with this section, and then I'll open up for questions. So what am I working on now?
That's good.
Back to this slide. Just check and make sure you're muted if you're with us. Thank you. Back to this slide, I'm in this section right here, this rebuild section. So what am I doing now to do that? I'm getting those machines ready for my pilot partners.
Right.
Martin,
Yep.
okay. What am I working on now? Third World Newsreel, Colgate University, and Eastern Michigan University are confirmed pilot partners. That means that they have paid for the cost of the machine. They will receive that machine, and they have agreed to collaborate with me and tell me how it's working, do tests, and be in constant touch about like how it's going so that I can learn from them and they can get my support. What I'm building for them at the moment, the old light setup did not have enough brightness to really get the the depth of the picture that we wanted. So we've increased the light. I have a PCB for that. They're new LEDs and it's working. I just need to assemble it. I got feedback from the Kodak Eastman, what is their name? The Eastman Archival Museum, whatever it is in Rochester, New York, strongly suggested a curved gate. I am pursuing that. There is a low-tech version and then a high-tech version. The low-tech version will ship with the machine. The higher tech version, which is a custom fabricated metal piece, which I've tried to avoid, and I'm finally saying no. I actually think that this is a place where it's good to go with a professionally machined part. Um, but I'm open to the other suggestions there. So that may be a little late. Like the final version of that may come after I deliver the machines. We'll see. The integrated PCB, bringing the microcontroller. That's an interesting idea. Grace in the chat. Yes, Matthew, to answer your question, that is the software I was talking about. And then guide rollers. I'm having an issue right now with the small PTR rollers I'm using. They seem to be not perfectly round, and so the film keeps going in places I don't want it to go. So I'm just going to make some more guide rollers. Do I need help with anything? Thank you for asking. Yes, I do. I really need help testing this because it is very unlikely that what I have come up with is the best idea. That would be very unlikely. So I'm looking for pilot engineers, people who may not have a lot of films or be part of an institution, but are good at working with this kind of project, with their hands, with physics, with all of those types of things, technology. And so I would like to provide machines to a small number of pilot engineers. I wouldn't be able to give them to you totally free, but as close to free as I can get it. I will make that happen. And the way I'm going to handle that is I'm going to specify sort of the structure of what it means to be a pilot engineer so that there is some expectation of you're not just going to get a machine to do whatever you want with. You're going to get a machine and then the community expects something back in return. And then I'll outline sort of, here's a problem that we need solved. Are you going to work on that one? And if so, what does that mean? And how do you report back on your progress? I will send out a call for proposals in April, and I would love to see people on this call respond to that and get a machine. Basically it's in everybody's best interest that we get as many hands on the machine as early as possible to break it and build it better. And I will finance that as much as I can with my personal money until I run out. And then I'm going to create an engineering board, which you'll see later. And all of those people who sign up for that pilot engineering phase will receive a spot on that board for at least the first year. That's probably a little confusing, but we will get back to that. Do I need help with anything else? Yes. As I will tell you later, I'm going to try to make Kinograph a nonprofit this year or next year. And I've never done that before, and I find the process intimidating and complex. I know there's a lot of Europeans here, so I'm not sure how much you can help. But if you're in the US or know someone in the US with experience in the process and procedures of setting up a nonprofit, what kind of legal assistance or funding assistance I might need, that would be very helpful to me. A little aside on that, early on in Kinograph's history, I was part of some like business accelerator programs in New York City that were trying to look for new hardware startups. And the one common piece of feedback I got was this is not a good business plan because you have a limited number of films in the world that will be scanned until you run out. And once they buy the machine, there's nothing else for them to buy. And if they don't like your machine, then there's no one else for them. It's like there's not any money in it. So if it's not a business, and if it was a business, because there's so few machines to be sold, the price would have to be so high to keep me employed by the company full time. And that's why these machines are $35,000 and up, is because they're paying a small team a full-time salary to support it. If we make it a nonprofit and we fund it with grants and the community solves the problem slowly over time together, then we don't have to keep the business alive. And it has a better chance of surviving long term if it's not dependent on profit. So it needs to have nonprofit status to get those grants. And I have to switch it from a for-profit business legally to a nonprofit. Does that make sense? I just said a lot of words. Yeah, I see. Okay, they're like, yeah, you didn't have to say that many words. All right. So now we're open for questions on the status and timeline updates, everything we've talked about so far. And we have as much time as we need for that.
Well, the first question I have is why would you update it on Instagram and not your own forum?
Where did you see that?
You said you would be posting updates on Instagram.
Yes. I can do forums too. Yeah, I don't think I thought that sentence through very well. It's
Okay.
hard. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. So do you want to, can you give us about 2 minutes rundown on the current status of the prototype and what's next, maybe?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I didn't give you a full picture of where the machine is at now. I have, so this is the old frame. I don't know how much of this you can see. And it was basically just a vertical machine, a vertical stance with a robotic kit of parts. These are for building like high school competition robots.
Actibot?
Close. It's called Go Builda.
Same,
Gobi.
same thing. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
So I have stuck with this, and we had some rigidity issues. So now I've used extruded aluminum to support the vertical and horizontal space. That's the panels are the same on the front. And then I've over-engineered a leaning design so that this is feedback I got from the Kodak folks. If you're not using a split reel and you're just using cores, if it's a vertical design, it's just gonna unravel. So lean back a couple of degrees, that way gravity handles that. And if people want to use a split reel, they can. So these go on the back. Because of this, it reduces the number of parts. This cross beam reduces the number of uprights. And then I'm putting everything back on. So everything else has remained the same for the most part. I'm trying to, oh, here's I have a motor to show you. Yeah. So minus the gate, all the parts, what I like about this Go Builda stuff, and I've covered this before in other videos, is everything is on an 8 mm square grid. All the holes are 4 mm, all the screws are 4 mm, and the grid is 8 mm. So if you just stick to their connector kit, we could build just about anything and everyone would be using the same base parts. You are free to 3D print or source anything else you want as long as you make an adapter that will fit to our 8x8 grid. That way we're all using the same foundational design system and everyone can build with this on top of it. Does that make sense? So I actually think what's more important than building the perfect machine is creating a flexible foundation that people can take in whatever direction they think is best. And if we all have the same foundation, then we can test each other's ideas with an equal starting point. One thing I've noticed is there's a lot of custom builds, and it's really hard to borrow from each other's ideas without totally rebuilding it from scratch. It'd be much easier if I could just give you the thing that I did, and you could apply it to yours because we're all using the same frame. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Cool.
So it's still, I would say, it's not a lot of progress has been made because I took a couple steps backwards to focus on building a foundation of flexible parts for a shared foundation that we can all build from in whatever direction we want. And then we kind of decide, of all those directions, what are the things that we think is the best combination of solutions? That will be the recommended Kinograph version. And then we'll also have these other sections that say, but if you want to try some variations on the gate, here's Jan's version and John's version and Rabino's version. And they're all, they all have the 8 mm grid mounting points. So you can try them all, print them at home and see what you think, swap them out. Okay, that was a long answer. Any other
Yeah,
questions?
got it. Thanks.
I definitely want to leave time, Grace, for you to show off whatever it is back there when we're
Oh,
done,
sure.
or anyone else who brought something fun to look at. Any other questions on status and timeline stuff that we went through? I'll leave this slide up just in case.
Yeah,
Okay. Keep going, Grace.
I'm just glad that you're able to get back into it.
Yeah.
You know, the you know, new fresh activity is good, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Having a stable job and a stable home is really underrated. I highly recommend it. Um, oh, this is a great question, Paul. So Paul is asking about supporting negative versus positive. So I'm working with an engineer in Armenia, actually. He's really great. We've been doing some questions, and actually Robin is on the call, and if he's willing to talk about what he's discovered, we can talk about that too. Essentially, I went back through the forums. I read all of the posts I could on lighting science. And my takeaway, which could needs validation, is that for positive prints, a high quality white light LED is sufficient. For negative prints, you're going to need some color variation. So that would mean RGB. So we are currently developing a PCB that has both options so that you can go RGB for negative or you can go all white for positive. Yes, filters, Grace, is also an option, and I need help testing that stuff. So if you are knowledgeable, I would love tests, pilot engineers for that. Robin is very good, and I'm not going to hold you to it, Robin, because you're here just to hang out. But if you want to add anything to negative versus positive and what you've discovered on your machine, feel free.
Right. Yeah, sorry I'm late. I was working late.
Yeah.
The No, I don't really have anything to add except that what you said is correct. Like the you need RGB for negative and you need white light for positive, but I don't have white light on my scanner. I have only RGB and positive is also fine.
Oh, that's good to
In
know.
the control software that you're doing, if you could have a scope that tells you your levels of red and green and blue, then all you need to do is line them up equally, and that'll give you a very good scan.
Awesome.
So it works fine.
That's good
But
to know.
it would be better to have an extra white light along your RGB. That would be really great too.
Cool. Thanks for validating that. That's great. All right. Well, why don't I jump into the vision and then that way we can just save the last four questions and show and tell. And then I'd love to hear if anybody wants to tell their story and what they hope to do with the Kinograph, what they need, what they want. I would love to hear that too. So the future vision, as I mentioned, is to turn Kinograph into a nonprofit. That'll take some time. But the nonprofit will essentially, what I would support is getting machines to people, getting them onboarded and comfortable with the machine, and then supporting all of the back end systems like the forums, making sure those are always up, the website, administrative stuff, more of a community slash sales person and less of an engineer. In order to make that happen, legally, we have to have a board for the nonprofit. And They would provide financial oversight so that there's transparency about where the money is going and how it's being spent. I would also ask them to pursue partnerships and funding and to help guide the vision for the overall community, which I'll get into. What does that mean? I'll talk about that a little bit. The engineering board would be mostly like people who have been on the forums, just really technically trying to figure out the best scanner. I would, instead of me figuring out what we should work on and how to do it, I would put that in the hands of the engineering board. That would be a rotating position every 1 to 2 years. I haven't decided yet, and would leave it up to the board to decide, so that there isn't sort of like a dictatorship of vision. We get a fresh vision in there, technically. They would also be responsible for reviewing contributions to the overall design and decide what gets labeled as, part of the official design and what is a recommended alternative, et cetera. And then they would also be responsible for documenting all of those changes and all of the standards that we would use moving forward so that people would know how to contribute.
Did you already shave the artichokes? Is that what I'm looking at over there? Good.
Okay, no artichokes here, but if you have any extra, I would eat some. All right, and then, so kind of moving from left to right, the output of the org board would really be sort of the overarching, like, why does Kinograph exist, mission and vision, and they would pursue and tell stories about the project. So a good example of this is what I've already been doing with a group of academics and artists who have used some of the footage I found in Jordan to create new works, academic works and artistic works. And we've spoken at a few conferences about that. That has spawned other side projects. And we want to keep all of that funneling back into the community to feed yet more projects. So, for example, if we can create an archive of scanned footage and people are willing to put up an open copyright on it or a copyleft on it, then that supports other artists coming into the Kinograph community to make more projects that they then put back into the community that funds more projects, and on and on. The engineering board would sort of drive the forums, help users in the day-to-day support of their machines, troubleshooting or experimenting. They would also decide, when do we ask the community for help trying to validate one of our experiments? Or when do we put out an open call for ideas and how do we judge them? And what's our process for accepting them and things like that. And really what I mean community, it's not just institutions and archives and engineers. It goes beyond that for me. It's artists and filmmakers, but also advocates for analog art and analog machines and open source machines. There may be small businesses who we're supporting with this kind of software or hardware, designers who want to be a part of it, et cetera. So we kind of want to open our doors a little bit, but we want to give them a structure to greet them when they open the door. So with the org board and the engineering board, we would hope to provide that structure through the website and the forums for them to enter, become part of it, contribute, and that's what keeps the organization going. That's what keeps our grants coming in, et cetera. Any questions about that? Pretty long term, and there is no timeline on it. In a dream situation, what I'd love to do is approach, a Scorsese Foundation or somebody and say, hey, we've got this machine, we've proven it in the field. It is not only providing access to films that are in danger of rotting and being lost forever, but we're also engaging the academic and artist communities and the maker communities. Would you consider keeping this alive? With a recurring donation every year for the next 10 years that we can count on. That would be great. But in order to build that case, we need a machine that's reliable and proven in the field, and we need to show collaboration and self-sufficiency. And that means taking me out of the middle. So you need me to get the first version of the machine out, and then I need you to help keep it alive so that I'm not a dependency. So I will start driving the community that breaks that dependency. Thoughts on IR for dust cleaning? Yeah, so why don't we just open it up now? Any reflections if you want to tell us who you are, what you're looking for, and then at around 12:50, so in about 15 minutes, I'd love to hand it over to Grace. Are you willing to talk about what's back behind there, which I assume is a kinograph, or anyone else? At 12:50, we'll switch to show and tell, and Grace will go first if she wants. And 12:50 is 15 minutes from now.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry. Couldn't find the mute button.
Yeah, been there before. Yeah, so we're wide open now for questions of any kind, comments, or even just introductions. Tell us what you're looking for. We're here.
Matthew, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Dylan.
I've been following along with this. I might be the youngest person on here. I'm 25 currently. I'll be 26 in May, so I'm probably the youngest one here. I don't know though, but I've been following along with the progress for about 5 or 6 years, and so it's really great to see you get back to working to it because I personally I can't afford a laser graphic scan station or what have you. So it's great that you're getting back to it. I'm glad things have settled down. I'm kind of in the situation like you were in. I'm trying to get my master's. I'm trying to find a stable job right now, and a lot of things going on for me right now. So it's really great to see you get back to working on this. And in the meantime, since the film hobby has kind of been on the back burner because I've moved on to collecting Betacam videotape, so that's kept me busy. Not having to think about, oh, I need a film scanner, I need a film scanner. So, um, again, great to see you back at it. You look great. I'm glad things are going well with you, and I'm looking forward to any future progress.
Thank you, Dylan. I'm really glad you're here, and good luck with those beta tapes. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, see, I actually have a way to transfer Betacam. I got two beta units over here, so I got a way to transfer those on like film. Though I do know someone in Pennsylvania who has a laser graphics, and he charges me a cheap rate. So I will occasionally send prints to him, but it would just be nice to have something for myself. That way, I don't have to spend $100, $200 per print.
That's great. I would also love to see a rental version where people can just I can ship you a machine and you can ship it back when you're done. The nice thing about this design is it's very collapsible. It takes one tool to put together and it's not that hard. So I could send you a small box. It's about the size of a carry-on luggage. And when you're done, send it back and, scan as many as you can and then pay for only the days you use it and send it back. That'd be cool.
Okay, then let me introduce myself, Hans Mulbroek. I'm a Dutch guy living in Germany, northern Germany. I come from projectors, using projectors, modify them for scanning. I started with Super 8 and regular 8, then 9.5 millimeters, 16 millimeters, 35, also optical sound. So, and the 35 actually is a wooden frame-based scanner that I built. And I used manual software for it, Raspberry Pi HQ camera. And well, it's very simple, but very efficient, does a good job. So now my idea is, and I already have that idea for a longer time, is to make a scanner for 9.5 millimeters. It's a format not used that much, but yeah, it's coming my way some way. So it's most often black white and yeah, sometimes damaged. And I like to offer people a very simple scanner, like the small ones that scan Super 8 and normal 8, the commercial ones. Very simple, using the software from Manuel, using my principle for the 35 millimeter scanner. So that is my target. And if I can use anything from the Kinograph forum or product, that would be nice.
That's great. Yeah, we would love to see what you come up with. Thank you for
Yeah,
introducing.
you're welcome.
All right. If there's no other intros or questions, Adam, do you have something? I saw you unmute yourself.
Hello, here is Tiziano and Samira from Italy.
Hi.
So, hi. Just to say who we are, we have this independent lab in Milan, and we support filmmakers here in Milan, and we do our research. So we were interested in using and becoming part of the community because we actually build our own method of scanning that is very self-made with a projector and things like that. So we wanted to improve this part because we have instead a very good part in the dark room. So we are very good in that, but we need to improve the scanning part and the digitalization. So this is the reason because because we are here now tonight.
Thank you for joining. I'm so glad you're here. Sounds like a really fun project. Love to see it someday. I noticed Paul asked about infrared scanning for dust cleaning. I'm not there yet, but I like that idea. I think that could definitely be on the roadmap. What in an ideal future, this is a good example, we could use this as an example of how this might work with the engineering board in the future. So if we had 8 millimeter machine and IR for dust cleaning and wet gate and 9.5 millimeter gate and all these requests, they would all go to the engineering board and we would say, what can we support? Like, what are the priorities from the user base? And we would probably ask a whole bunch of users, what do you want most? And then we would say, all right, here's our roadmap for the next 6 months. And either IR for dust cleaning would be in there or it wouldn't. If it wasn't, then we would say, Paul, if you want to take that on, either A, there's some funds. Would you like to apply for some funds so that we can support you? Or B, we're not going to support it for right now. We suggest you post about it in the forums, see if there's someone else who is also interested and that could help you experiment with that and then bring it back to the group. And then, so there would be multiple ways, in other words, for an idea to continue, even if it isn't on the official Kinograph roadmap. And that roadmap is decided by how many people we have available to work on it and bring it forward. Cool.
I was wondering about how would warped film be handled?
That's a good question. One with many answers and opinions. And I am not an expert here, but I'm going to try to simplify it to two things, two options, which is flat. It's basically your gate. Like, how do you want to do that? The curved gate is the preferred method as far as like wear and tear. And then there's a flat gate, which would press it. And I've made the flat gate and it works, but the curved gate is preferred. So that's why I'm pursuing the curved gate. And that's your best option. If you used a curved gate and it still isn't, it's still too warped, I don't have ideas for you because I'm out of my depth there, but an archivist would have some ideas. And that's a great question for the forums too. And my answer is not the official answer, by the way, just because I'm the one who started this call. I think there's other people on this call who could answer that much better than I can. What about a quick poll? How many people plan on scanning 35 with this machine? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And however many silent there are. That's more than I thought. Vesna, you're saying yes? Okay, cool. That's interesting that we did see some no's. Another one, so 6. That's pretty good. All right, so there are some. 4, 8. Okay. Cool. Thanks, everybody. I was just curious if 35 was just not something anyone needed, but it sounds like it is. How many would be focused primarily on 16? 2 visually raised hands. Is that Tiziano? Is that a half raised hand from your partner? Yeah. Okay. Adam. Yeah. Okay. I see that. Thank you. Oh, so maybe an 816 machine is something we could consider. Cool. Wow. Yeah. Robin's going to do all of them. Rubino, everything. No, you've done 9.5 though, haven't you?
9.5, no.
I didn't. No. Okay. Thought you did for some reason. I have some laying around somewhere. Someone
I
sent
mean,
me.
it's not hard once you have everything set up, then just making a 9.5 gate wouldn't be so hard.
Mhm.
But I just have no use for that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Mark is saying 9.5 is important for him. That's interesting. Cool. Okay. And I guess, is there anybody who is only interested in 8? Until 8, 22. Wow, Martin, that's good. Jan is right. I've seen Rihanna, I recognize you from the forums. You've contributed a lot. Thank you for being here. John, 8. He's an 8 machine. Okay. Right on. Yeah, 8 is so much fun. The content for me is the best for 8. I just love seeing what's out there. Okay, cool. Well, feel
I've
free to keep.
noticed, if I can interrupt one quick thing, is that scanning 8 millimeter to me was the hardest because yeah, 35 is the easiest, 16 was getting a little hard, and then 8 was really hard. The smaller you go, the harder it is, for me at least,
Yeah.
in my experience.
Yeah, it gets tiny. The good news is that the um, sprocket registration mechanism that is currently used, it's a optical fiber reflective sensor. I have tested it with 8 and it is small enough to work with 8. So it would not need a major tech upgrade for 8 to work. It theoretically would just we might need to move, like add places for the reels to go that isn't so far away, but it's only a mechanical issue. It's not a tech issue. So that's
Yeah, I think we have the same sensor or some sensor that's very similar. And
yeah,
I also confirmed that it's the same. It's just mechanical and handling it too. Especially when you have large reels of 8 millimeter. For me,
mhm,
I did risers because I have a horizontal machine, not vertical. It's a tabletop. So yeah, for all my film to be
Are,
looking
are you
up.
guys are you guys both using the Keyence systems?
Yes.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just bought a new one. They have a new one that doesn't use the reflector. So
is it
haven't test haven't
opaque?
tested it yet. No,
Oh,
it's all built into the head. Um, so yeah, and they're not that expensive either. I bought it from Keyence directly, but they're on eBay all over the place. So
cool. Well, with that, Grace, why don't you tell us about that cool looking thing behind you?
well, well, I built one. I built a machine about 15 years ago that I called the Open Scanner, and then you showed up, and I thought, oh well, that's a better idea. So, but this is the latest version. Now that I'm kind of out of the spirit world, the I sold my spirits last fall, and they're all gone now. So I've started to work on this, and I've learned CAD and 3D printing and stuff like that. And I've settled on a few different solutions than you have, but all in the same direction. So let me pull it closer to the camera.
Yeah, it looks beautiful.
Let's see if it's still in the
Wow.
shot.
Oh, wow, wow, that's so cool.
So there's a lot of things wrong with this so far. But the key things that are right, I think, are the mechanics, the camera positioning, and actually I have a back plane in here that's stiff aluminum channel. This kind of stuff, if you can see that. A 2020 system. So the back plane is like 2100, so 5 sections wide, very, very stiff. And the light and the gate are mounted on that, and the camera's mounted on that. So there can't be any motion at all between them.
That's
So
great.
that's a key feature. Um, the light is a version. Can you guys see the light or not?
We can only see part of the machine. Yeah, your camera wants to follow you, I think.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's better.
The light is really a redesign of the one that you posted somewhere a long time ago.
Yeah,
A sphere with uh, 400-watt lights in it.
cool.
It's untested. I believe the housing's going to melt when I turn the lights on, but I'm not sure yet. So yeah, so that's the basic idea. Uh, Everything that I could print with 3D, I did. The dancer arms, um, cap stands here. This is like a pressure roller, pinch roller kind of a deal for that. FLIR camera, the controller. Here's where I stumbled. The controller is I was planning on using Arduinos to run the motors. I should turn it around. But it's not fast enough, and I started needing more than one, and then I was up to four, and I couldn't make them coordinate. So this is a really fast high-end board that costs, I don't know, $50 or something. It's like 240 megahertz. So, but I got to learn how to program it. So that's next up on the plan. I think it's called a
Oh yeah,
Nucleo STM32 board.
yeah.
So if you know about that, I'd love to talk to you about it. Um, and then on the back, 3 power supplies: 5 volt, 12 volt, 36 volt. Stepper motors from 3D printers, little tiny ones. They may not be big enough. I've got a belt drive on the real motors, and optical encoders on, where's one? You can't really see them. Optical encoders on the dancer arms for positioning. And yeah, that's the basics, really.
It's great.
Any questions on it? I'd love to, or feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Here's the gate. And this is this 8 millimeter gate that I bought from Rennie Johnson. If any you guys know who that is, he builds a machine called a Xena, which he sells for 80 or 90 grand. And I got a gate from him for 8 millimeter, and it's currently set up for 16 with an old rank gate. And so that's a good time to talk about the gate. It's curved, but it's flat. It's flat on the capture area across this edge where the opening is, and curved ramps to it. That's like the best design. And for curved film, for warpy film, if you build a pressure plate that's basically outside perimeter and allow it either spring or wait to compress the film right at the gate. That could work. Also, you could drive it with a stepper up and down if you needed to, but you'd have to go real slow for that. So anyway, that's
I bought some stuff from Rennie as well in the past. Does he sell gates like that? Like you bought both gates from him?
no, no, the 35 or the 16 is from an old rank. So
Okay.
I bought
Yeah,
a
yeah.
bunch of rank gates, and this is the best one.
Right, right.
So no, but Rennie's gate, I mean, it's an engineering sort of a copy of a rank gate, only 8 millimeter. It's got the same bolt pattern. So you know, but I don't think this is the ultimate gate. So
Right.
no, he wouldn't sell it to me. I had to trade him for it. I had something he wanted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, so there's probably only a few of these out in the world. But the Black Magic Gate is beautiful if you've seen those, and they're like $1,200. So um, that's the ultimate solution. And in terms of what you could do with it, that'd be the best. And anything you copied from that would probably work pretty well too. So just a point.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, that's all I got really.
Anybody have any more questions for Grace, or anybody else have anything they want to show off? We could also just do a show and tell version of this one time. I think that could be fun. There's so many cool machines on the forums, and I only see photographs. I don't get to you know, see them hands-on and ask questions.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
All right, I'll write a note here. We'll do that. We'll do a show and tell. I just want to say thank you to everyone. Hi, Stu. Did you have something?
What's that?
Did you have something you wanted to ask or say?
Uh, sorry I'm late. It was unavoidable.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to intrude on the discussion at this stage. No.
Okay, cool. I've recorded this and I'll post it online. The TLDR is things are in progress and there's plans for moving forward, and we hope to have machines available to people for ordering by the end of the year. And I also want to say I hope our machine is not the only machine. There is no competition in this world of making film scanners. The whole point is that people have a good alternative to what's available on the commercial market that is reliable and of good quality. And if that's Grace's machine, or 50% Grace and 20% Jan and 10% John and 5% Rubino, like whatever, we just want to give them a good alternative, and the more choices they have, the better. So I encourage you all to help each other out in whatever ventures you're seeking. Because the point is to save the films, not to be the face of anything, I think is the important part. For me anyway, for Kinograph, I'm only speaking on Kinograph's part. Yeah, cool. I'm just so glad that you guys are here and that we're doing this. Thank you for showing up. You can reach out to me anytime. Info@kinograph.cc. I just put that in the chat, or you can reach me personally more directly at that email address. I check that one a little more often. Forums are back up and running, and we're adding an AI assistant to it shortly that will have read through all the material and be able to answer questions. But as with all AIs, I would check the answers. It's a good starting point because there are so many opinions in Kinograph. Just because the AI says that it is so doesn't mean that it's always the best way. But hopefully it'll help people digest what has been said, because it is intimidating. There's a lot of good stuff in there, and you can ask it questions. So hope to announce that shortly, maybe in the next week or so. That's the next thing coming up. All right, I know it's late for some of you in Eastern Europe. Thanks for joining, and check the forums or Instagram for short updates. meaning like quick updates. And then if you're looking for the major updates only, the email list is the best place to be. And I want to thank Rubino for offering his input today and Grace for showing us her machine. Thank you, Hans, for telling us about what you're working on and everybody else. Really appreciate you. Have a great evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Good evening.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.